Chapter 109 to 110. After this reunion, Chi-Chi would definitely not stop them from training. She never wanted to be separated from them again. After they had a simple lunch together, Goten went to Bulma's house to tell Android 21 about participating in the Tournament of Power. After all, Android 21's strength was still very formidable. Compared to those in other universes, she was much stronger than most fighters. For this kind of competition, Android 21 was naturally looking forward to it. Being idle was boring, so it was better to stretch her muscles a bit. Goten then casually informed Majin Buu about it. Naturally, Majin Buu had no objections. In fact, he didn't dare to have any opinions at all. After all, it was Goten who had shown mercy, allowing him to survive until now. Otherwise, he would have been killed long ago. The day passed quickly, and night fell. Goten and Videl sat on the top of Mount Paozu, admiring the moonlight. "Goten, is the Tournament of Power you mentioned dangerous? Could you take me and Auntie Chi-Chi along with you to watch?" Videl spoke first. In fact, she was still very worried about Goten. The last time they contested against the 6th universe, it seemed that there was no danger. But that little guy named Zeno seemed to make Beerus very afraid, and this Tournament of Power was held by that little one. This made her subconsciously feel that there must be some danger. "Don't worry, there's nothing dangerous," Goten reassured her. "My current strength should be stronger than other universe participants. However, the competition this time is different from the last one. No visitors are allowed this time, so you and Mom probably won't be able to watch the battle." Goten turned his head and smiled. It wasn't that he was overconfident, but the other universe participants really couldn't pose any threat to him, including Jiren, who was the most dazzling in the Tournament of Power. "It's okay, it doesn't matter if we don't go," Videl smiled. "As long as you and everyone can come back safely, that's what we want to see the most." In fact, she thought every day that if she were with Goten, she would have endless things to say. But now that they were really together, she found that the things she had rehearsed countless times in her mind were hard to speak now. "By the way, how about I take you on a tour to other planets after this Tournament of Power is over?" Goten suddenly turned his head with a smile on his face. After such a long time, Videl's persistence had paid off. She helped take care of his mother at Mount Paozu every day. Goten was not a heartless person, and he knew that Videl, with her good looks and wealth, was sincere in pursuing him. She let go of her lifestyle to stay in a place like Mount Paozu, which was enough to prove her intention. So Goten had already thought about taking Videl to travel to other places after the tournament. It would also be a way to relax. After all, with the training in the hyperbolic time chamber, he hadn't had a good rest for 10 years. "Really?" Videl was overjoyed. She quickly asked, "So, is this a date?" It was clear she was very happy at the moment. Unexpectedly, Goten would say such words suddenly. She was indeed caught off guard, but quite excited. This also meant that Goten seemed to be accepting her. "It counts." Goten nodded with a smile. Although his current age, plus the time in the hyperbolic time chamber, was around 19 years old more or less, he was a grown adult in his previous life. So even if it was about falling in love, it was understandable. "Yay! That's great!" Videl showed a triumphant gesture. Her persistence was finally not in vain. The two chatted for another hour. By this time, the entire mountain peak was completely shrouded in darkness. "Goten, let's go back. If you stay a little longer, Aunt Chi-Chi will probably worry," Videl suggested. It was now so dark that nothing could be seen. "Okay, let's go back then." Goten nodded. The two then returned home. Chi-Chi, as a wife, noticed that Videl was quite happy. This showed that after this trip, the relationship between her and Goten had obviously been further upgraded. At this time in the Hakaishin realm of the 6th universe, Champa had assembled all the contestants of the 6th universe. All the participants who competed with the 7th universe last time were listed here. In addition, there were Botamo, Magetta, two Namekians, Sayonel and Pilina, and Dr. Rhoda. "Hey, you guys, how is your training going? Has your strength improved? This time the competition between all universes will be very difficult, especially against the 7th universe. It will be very hard to defeat them," Champa asked everyone seriously. Although he subconsciously felt that the 6th universe had no chance of winning at all, he had to maintain some hope. After all, their most powerful participant, Hit, couldn't possibly match Goten. And the 5 new guys were just there to make up the numbers. But still, he needed to hold on to some illusions and hopes for life. What if those hopes came true? Hey. Don't worry, Champa-sama, we have already mastered a transformation of a higher level than Super Saiyan. This time, we can definitely beat those guys from the 7th universe with ease. As for mortals in other universes, they don't stand a chance. Caulifla stepped forward with great confidence. Since the last match with the 7th universe ended, after the so-called Xeno Expo held an all-universe exhibition match, they were brought to the Hakaishin realm of the 6th universe by Champa. They trained for a long time in a rather magical space. With their talent and hard work, they reached the level of Super Saiyan. Now she and Kaba had reached Super Saiyan 2, which was more powerful than Super Saiyan. As for Kale, she was even more amazing. She could now fully maintain her consciousness while transforming into Super Saiyan, and her strength was stronger than both of them combined. Even if she and Kaba joined forces, they wouldn't be able to defeat Kale. This was enough to prove the strength of their 6th universe. Moreover, after such a long period of training, Hit's strength had reached its peak. If there was another match against the 7th universe now, they had a 98% confidence of winning. The remaining 2% was because she didn't want to sound arrogant. "Ha! You arrogant bastard. Every time you say it so confidently, the ending is always embarrassing and miserable. Do you think only your strength has improved? Let me tell you the truth. When I went to the Temple of Xeno this time, Goten of the 7th universe had already fought with the Hakaishin." Champa immediately cursed loudly at Caulifla. This bastard was so overconfident last time. However, she didn't last even a second in the arena and was directly eliminated. Now she was overconfident again, which gave Champa quite a headache. Sometimes pride and arrogance were more terrifying than powerful opponents. "Ah, is that Goten so powerful that he can fight against the Hakaishin? Then how did it end? Did the Hakaishin win, or did Goten win?" Caulifla asked curiously, looking at Champa. This time, even Hit, the always indifferent assassin, looked at Champa. He was also very curious about Goten's strength and wanted to know how far that guy had grown. Among all the participants of the Tournament of Power, only Goten interested him. So now he wanted to know how good Goten was. Heh, ask less when you shouldn't. You just need to know that Goten is very powerful right now. Champa frowned, unwilling to tell them the previous results. It was a huge humiliation to him. The majestic Hakaishin was defeated by that guy in one fell swoop. Ho. Do you still need to ask about this matter? You can tell by Champa-sama's face. This time the universe's Hakaishin were quite miserable. They were all defeated by Goten, and it was an understatement of defeat, Vados replied with a smile. Making Champa lose face was something she enjoyed. "Ah, is this true? That Goten of the 7th universe defeated the Hakaishin by himself, and he beat all the Hakaishin in each universe? You're kidding, right?" After hearing Vados's words, Caulifla's face showed a look of surprise. She became very serious. They all knew how powerful a Hakaishin was. To deal with existences like themselves, a Hakaishin could do it with one finger. And Goten could actually defeat Hakaishin, and even defeat Hakaishin of all universes. This showed that the kid had strength countless times stronger than them. He could probably defeat them with just a breath, which was too exaggerated. They were both mortals and Saiyans. Why was the difference in strength so exaggerated? Is there such a thing? That guy, Goten, his strength has been raised to such an exaggerated level. It seems that even if the time skip skill is raised to 1 second, it is absolutely impossible to defeat him. However, I hope that trick can cause harm to him. Hit thought in shock. He had never admired anyone in his life, but Goten of the 7th universe, he truly admired from the bottom of his heart. A mortal being with power beyond a Hakaishin was something he had always yearned for. It's too strong. Can a scion from the 7th universe really reach this level? Unbelievable. Kaba, standing to the side, was completely dumbfounded. He thought that after breaking through the limit of Super Saiyan and reaching Super Saiyan 2, they were already very powerful. At least they shouldn't be weaker than Trunks, and if they joined forces, maybe Goten would be no problem. But now it seemed their thoughts were a bit too naive. "Don't be so nervous, everyone," Vados said in a relaxed tone. "Although Goten of the 7th universe is really strong, it is not impossible for us to win. Did everyone forget the trick Kaioshin-sama taught you last time?" Those words eased the extreme shock on their faces. Vados had mentioned Goten's true strength to prevent Caulifla and the others from being overconfident. Excessive self-confidence could lead to their elimination. However, she didn't want them to lose their fighting spirit either. If that happened, they didn't need to participate in this tournament of power. "You mean the fusion thing that Kaioshin-sama told us about?" Caulifla asked. "Can that approach really beat Goten?" Kaioshin Fua had indeed mentioned that the Kaioshin earrings could be used for fusion. After the fusion, a powerful and nearly invincible warrior would be born. But they had never tried it, so they didn't know if a fusion fighter could actually burst out with such strong force as Kaioshin said. "Not sure if you can beat Goten, though," Vados replied. "But what is certain is that fusion will indeed give birth to an unprecedented super warrior. There is still time before the Tournament of Power starts. You can use this period to improve your own strength. Fusion will make you even stronger." Everyone nodded immediately, especially Hit, who couldn't wait to enter the space where he trained before and complete his ultimate trick after hearing about Goten's strength. At this time in the 11th universe, Kaioshin Kai brought Toppo to the realm of Hakaishin. "Is Jiren still saying no?" Belmod asked with a gloomy expression, not looking back at Toppo and Kai. A few hours ago, he had sent Toppo and Kai to tell Jiren about the tournament between universes and to ask him to join the contest. But now, only the two of them were back, which obviously meant Jiren refused. Jiren was the only hope for the 11th universe to win the final victory of this power tournament. If he didn't participate, they didn't have any hope for the 11th universe. "Yes, Belmod-sama, Jiren said he's not interested in things like this at all. There's a lot of evil in the universe waiting for him to eliminate, so he doesn't have time to participate," Toppo said respectfully. Despite spending a full 3 hours trying to persuade Jiren, he wasn't moved at all. In the end, they had no choice but to give up. "Damn! Didn't you tell Jiren that if we lose the Tournament of Power, the entire universe will be wiped out?" Belmod spoke in a very solemn tone. Although this result was expected, Jiren was really too stubborn. If they lost the tournament, the entire universe would disappear. Didn't he know the seriousness of this matter? If the entire universe disappeared, what was the point of him guarding it? "We did," Toppo continued. "But Jiren said that if the universe is really destroyed, that is its fate. And if he participates, it would also cause other universes to be erased. So he won't take part in this kind of competition." Toppo knew that Jiren might say no, but he was more aware that if Jiren did not participate in this competition, no one would be able to stop Goten. Jiren has always been a true fighter for justice. It seems that he takes the survival of the universe very lightly. He won't be participating, which can cause the 11th universe will be wiped out. However, I still have a way to get him to participate. In his heart, there is something more important than the universe. An extremely sinister look suddenly flashed in Belmod's eyes as he spoke in a cold tone. At this point, Belmod was very clear. "Jiren, this tournament, I will make you participate." The cold light in Belmod's eyes kept surging. Even if Jiren didn't care about the life and death of this universe, he should care about his master and whether can he be resurrected. He should want to know who his master was and who killed him. This was Jiren's weakness, and as long as he grasped this matter, it would not be an easy task for Jiren to refuse. Belmod-sama, I don't know if I should say something or not, Toppo asked tentatively from the side. Just tell me if you have anything to say, Belmod responded. Things had come to this point. Was there anything else that should not be said? That's right, Belmod-sama, Toppo began. Have you ever thought that even if you get Jiren to participate in this tournament, we might not win? You've seen the strength of Goten in the 7th universe. Although I've always believed in Jiren's strength, now I'm not 100% sure that he can defeat Goten. Toppo spoke very seriously. If someone had told him this before, he would never have believed it, because Jiren, in his mind, was an existence no different from a Hakaishin. In terms of combat power alone, Jiren was not weaker than a Hakaishin at all. But since seeing Goten's strength in the 7th universe yesterday, he had changed his previous arrogant attitude. Now he felt that even if Jiren participated, he might not win, because that Goten guy was just too powerful. You're absolutely right, Belmod nodded seriously. Although Jiren's strength is very strong, it cannot compare with a Hakaishin. But that Goten already possesses strength beyond our Hakaishin. So even if Jiren participates in the competition, it is impossible to defeat that boy. Belmod had naturally thought about this before, but had already devised a countermeasure that required the help of a Kaioshin. He was confident he could solve Jiren's problem. Meanwhile, except for the 7th, 6th, and 11th universes, the other 5 participating universes were also intensively searching for participants. However, when searching for participants, their hearts were already half cold. They hadn't paid much attention to the comprehensive strength of mortals in their universes, but now they realized their universes were so weak. It was estimated that their participants wouldn't be enough for Goten to crush into a ball, but there was no other way. Even if they couldn't beat Goten, they had to participate, because participating gave them a glimmer of hope. If they didn't, they would definitely face a dead end. The day quickly passed as all universes searched for their participants. At this time in the 7th universe, Goten had returned to the Hakaishin realm. Goku and Vegeta, after a day of training, had already come out of that magical place. It looks like everyone is almost ready, Whis said, looking at the crowd. In that case, I'll start contacting Daishinkan-sama now. Now they had exactly 10 participants in their universe, and their respective strengths had become stronger. There should be no problem dealing with this tournament of power. As long as there were no major accidents, Goten could sweep the audience by himself. Well, let's get started, Beerus nodded and said to Whis. Then he looked at Goten and said, Goten, although I know your strength is outrageous, there are also powerful mortals in other universes, so don't take it lightly. If we lose this time, our entire 7th universe will be completely wiped out by Zeno-sama. I don't think anyone wants that to happen. Beerus's tone was very serious. As a Hakaishin, who had lived for hundreds of millions of years, he did not want to be erased like this, and he hadn't finished tasting the food of Earth yet. Besides, after winning the game, there was another chance to make a wish with Super Shenron. Maybe he could take advantage of this opportunity to resurrect his brother Champa. Although they bickered a lot, the kind of family affection where blood is thicker than water would never change. Relax, Beerus, Goten said confidently. There are indeed strong opponents in other universes, but I don't think they are qualified to be my opponents. Goten's words were a bit arrogant, but he did have the capital for such arrogance. Even if his opponents were the Hakaishin of the 12 universes, it wouldn't be easy to defeat him. Even if his opponents were angels, he still had the strength to fight against them. Okay. I'm relieved to hear that you are so confident, Beerus said with a smile. Then he nodded at Whis, signaling that the team could now go to the Null Realm. Yes! Whis nodded immediately. Then he took out his staff and started contacting the Grand Priest. Moments later, there was a voice call with the Grand Priest. Daishinkan-sama, our seventh universe is ready, and we can go to the Null Realm, Whis said to the crystal ball on the staff. Okay, I'll pick you up right away, the voice of the Grand Priest sounded. In a moment, the participants from the seventh universe were surrounded by a brilliant energy. In the next second, they disappeared from the Hakaishin realm. When they appeared again, they had reached the Null Realm. This was a huge arena with a width of several thousand feet under their feet. In the center of the arena stood a tall stone pillar, evenly divided into different colors. This was for measuring time. The tournament of power lasted a total of 100 tacks, which is 48 minutes. When the huge stone pillar was completely inside the ground, it meant that the tournament of power was over. Everyone looked around, and the first to arrive was their seventh universe. Is this the realm of nothingness? Krillin and Trunks took a look around. It was completely pitch black, except for the huge sun-like ball of light directly above the ring. This place would be utterly dark without that light. Surrounding the arena were some auditoriums, apparently for the Hakaishin, Kaioshin, and Angels of their respective universes to watch the game. Same as Dragon Ball Super, Goten thought to himself. At this time, Zeno and the Grand Priest were right there in the east of the audience stands. The Grand Priest walked to the edge of the auditorium, looking at everyone from the seventh universe in the ring. He greeted them warmly. Participants of the seventh universe, welcome. I hope you can bring a wonderful battle next. However, the other universe participants haven't arrived yet, so please wait for a while. Yes, Daishinkan-sama. Everyone nodded immediately and respectfully agreed. Bzz! At this moment, accompanied by a brilliant ray of light and the sound of breaking through the air, the sixth universe also arrived. Hey, Beerus, I didn't expect you to come here so early. What? Are you so impatient to lose to our sixth universe and be erased by Zeno-sama? As soon as they met, the ever-cheap-mouthed Champa couldn't help but joke. Although he knew that the sixth universe simply didn't have the ability to compete with the seventh universe, he could only trash talk about it now. Because once the tournament started, their sixth universe might be completely destroyed. This damned fatty. Beerus didn't talk back, but frowned and said in a low voice. He knew Champa was just joking before meeting his end. But the more this happened, the more uncomfortable he felt. After all, thinking of it in a roundabout way, he was going to kill him with his own hands. Da. At this time, Caulifla, a scion from the sixth universe, walked towards Goten and the others step by step. There was a very confident smile on the corner of her mouth. She stopped in front of the seventh universe and looked at Goten. Hey, I heard that your strength has improved a lot and you can actually defeat a Hakaishin, right? He. You are really amazing, to be honest. I admire you very much, but in the next match, I will not show mercy to you. Her confident and arrogant tone would make anyone who didn't know her strength think she was invincible. Is it? Looks like the last lesson Trunks taught you wasn't deep enough. It actually made you have such a crazy idea. I have to say that your current thinking is really very dangerous. Goten raised a flat smile at the corner of his mouth and then said lightly. He didn't understand why this girl's mouth was so foul. She knew his strength was greater than a Hakaishin's, yet she was still so arrogant. It seemed she had gotten the news of the Xeno Expo from Champa. I was just careless last time. But do you still think that I am the same Caulifla from a few months ago? Then you are totally wrong. After months of training, my strength has undergone tremendous changes. Of course, including my teammates. So this time, no matter what, we will defeat your seventh universe and we will not be humiliated. Caulifla pointed at the tip of her nose with her thumb and said arrogantly, Hey! Goten, Trunks! Who the hell is this prattling woman? How arrogant and ignorant! This level of obnoxiousness is really no weaker than Kakarot, Vegeta asked, looking at the arrogant caulifla in front of him. In the past few years, there had been many arrogant guys in Otherworld, but all fell under his fist. He had absolutely no exception for this chattering woman in front of him. What are you talking about, Vegeta? This girl's arrogant personality is exactly the same as yours. Honestly, could she be your half-sister or something? Goku said immediately, trying to make a point. Obviously, the character of the woman in front of them was more similar to Vegeta. They were both so arrogant and ignorant. Upon hearing this, Vegeta immediately became furious. If it wasn't for the fact that he had to deal with other universe participants together, he really wanted to teach Goku a lesson. Father, her name is Caulifla, and she is a scion from the 6th universe. In the contest against the 6th universe a month ago, I battled her, and her strength was very weak. They couldn't even transform into Super Saiyan. Now I can feel that her strength has improved a bit, but she is still very weak. Trunks immediately replied, respectfully. Although Caulifla's strength might have improved, it was still impossible to compare it to theirs. Oh, the scions of the 6th universe? Vegeta said lightly, a smile on the corner of his mouth. If it's scion, it would make sense to be so arrogant. Most scions were like this, very arrogant and very ignorant. So this made sense. It's you again. You lost so fast last time that I never had a chance to teach you a lesson. This time, I will definitely teach you a lesson. Android 21 took a step forward and looked at Caulifla with a charming smile. When she participated in the last contest against the 6th universe, she really wanted to teach this arrogant and ignorant woman a lesson. But Trunks had easily defeated Caulifla, so she didn't have a chance to make a move. This time, the chance had come. Damn! Stop getting carried away here. You want to defeat me with just your weak power? Stop dreaming, Caulifla said with a look of disdain. In her eyes, the only powerful ones in the 7th universe were the scions. This beautiful woman in front of her was just a vase. Everyone in the 6th universe saw Caulifla provoking the 7th universe, and their complexions changed slightly. This woman was really worrying. Obviously weak, but she liked to provoke others. Caulifla, hurry up and return, or I'll destroy you right now, Champa immediately said to Caulifla. This bastard's arrogance and ignorance were really troublesome. She had no strength at all, but she always liked to say some arrogant words. It was not wise to provoke the 7th universe now, especially those who wanted to participate in the competition. It was very likely that she would be beaten on the spot. Goten! And that Trunks, you just wait for me. I will definitely beat you all to the ground later. After Caulifla finished trash-talking, she returned to the 6th universe. Though she might not be strong enough to beat Goten and Trunks, she now had a secret weapon. As long as she and Kale fused, their power would be unimaginable. She felt that as long as she merged with Kale, she would have the strength to defeat Hakaishin. Ignorant woman, Beerus scowled, not bothering to pay attention to such a small-chested and brainless woman. Tien, author just wants his big pink evil rabbits. Swish, swish, swish. At this moment, other universes appeared one after another. 2nd universe, 3rd universe, 4th universe, 9th universe, 10th universe. But after every universe appeared, they all turned their attention to the 7th universe, revealing deep fear. That Goten had indeed made it to the tournament. It seemed 100% impossible to win the final victory of this competition. They just hoped to last a little longer. Swish! With the final sound of breaking through the air, the 11th universe also appeared. The moment they appeared, Goten immediately set his sights on the 11th universe. Standing in the front position was naturally the most powerful fighter in the 11th universe, Jiren Gray. On both sides of him were Toppo and Dispo. Jiren's participation in this fight was expected by Goten, so there was no surprise there. But the moment he saw Jiren, his expression changed instantly. because the Jiren in front of him was completely different from the Jiren in Dragon Ball Super. First, he wore 2 emerald green earrings on his ears. These earrings were the same as those worn by Zamasu and others back then. They were Kaioshin's Potara earrings, and from Jiren's body, Goten sensed the key of a god. Fusion Jiren, he thought. Jiren was known as the righteous warrior of the 11th universe. Given his aloof personality, he shouldn't have fused to participate in this kind of battle. His appearance hadn't changed much, but the Potara earrings on his ears and the presence of divine Kai in his body indicated a fusion. It seemed like the target of fusion wasn't someone else. Maybe it was another Jiren. It seems that after I defeated Belmod last time, he held a grudge and developed a strong fear of me. Otherwise, he wouldn't have chosen this approach, Goten thought. This was definitely Belmod's idea, knowing how powerful Goten was. Even Jiren, the most powerful mortal in their universe, was weak in front of Goten. The only way to defeat Goten was to combine 2 Jiren. Goten didn't know where the other Jiren came from, perhaps another timeline. But the purpose of fusing and participating in this tournament must be to get the Super Dragon Balls, to revive his master Gichin, or find the demons who slaughtered his entire family. Goten, that guy from the 11th universe is very powerful. I can feel the ki of a god from his body. That guy must not be underestimated. Beerus also immediately sensed Jiren's strength. From Jiren's body, he felt a dangerous ki. This feeling had never been felt in any mortal except Goten, indicating that the man of the 11th universe might have power beyond a Hakaishin. Although this was hard to believe, why were more and more mortals possessing power beyond a Hakaishin? Ah, I feel it too. That guy's strength is indeed extraordinary. It seems that even I would find it difficult to defeat him. Goten nodded seriously. If it was Jiren alone, he wouldn't be concerned. As long as he transformed into the legendary Super Saiyan form, he could easily defeat Jiren. But now the situation was different. This guy was apparently the fusion of 2 Jiren. If different fighters fused, their combat effectiveness would multiply. But if the same fighter fused, their combat effectiveness would expand infinitely. And Jiren had divine ki in his body. Since it was the same person who combined, they might not be able to separate, even if they had more powerful power. The fusion would not disintegrate as soon as possible because of too much power. Beerus-sama, Goten, the warrior of the 11th universe, is wearing Kaioshin's Potara earrings. It looks like a fused warrior. After combining with the Potara earrings, the strength will be terribly improved. The 11th universe is too insidious. They want to use this method to win. Shin recognized at a glance that the earrings worn by Jiren were their Kaioshin's Potara earrings. He cursed loudly. How dare they use such an underhanded method to win the tournament? This approach was indeed quite insidious. A fused warrior? However, Zeno-sama and Daishinkan-sama did not expressly prohibit fused fighters from participating in the competition. Beerus frowned. That meant Belmod cleverly exploited a loophole in the rules. Goten, that guy's strength is obviously beyond the level of a Hakaishin. If you meet him, how sure are you of victory? Beerus asked with a solemn tone. 60%. That guy's strength is outrageous. In my current state, I may not be able to beat him, Goten said seriously. However, he still had other strategies. If he used them, his confidence might increase to 80%. Damn! In other words, the hope of winning has become so slim? Hateful! Belmod, that bastard! Beerus frowned tightly and clenched his fists. Feeling scared at last, Beerus? Belmod taunted. It is undeniable that the mortal of your 7th universe is indeed very strong, but the fused strength of Jiren has almost reached the level of an angel. I don't believe that your Goten from the 7th universe can reach this level. The final winner of this game belongs to our 11th universe. After seeing Beerus's solemn expression, Belmod's face became even more smug. There was no suspense in this game. Jiren would easily defeat Goten of the 7th universe, becoming the most powerful warrior in all universes. Darling, Although the fused Jiren has great power, Goten of the 7th universe is definitely not to be underestimated. His strength is still ridiculously strong. If the 7th universe also chooses to combine, then things will be a bit difficult, Angel Margarita reminded him. Even if the combined power of Goten and others was not as strong as that of fused Jiren, you must remember that Goten's basic combat power was far beyond that of a single Jiren. So if he combined with others, he could also erupt with extremely powerful force. Yes, you're right, Belmod reacted immediately. Afterward, Belmod hurriedly said to Jiren at his side, Jiren, if you want to get the Super Dragon Balls, then your most important opponent is Goten from the 7th universe, so absolutely don't give him any chance to fuse. As soon as the battle starts, you should eliminate Goten from the 7th universe as quickly as possible. Understood? Only this way can you get the last chance to make a wish and bring your Master Gichin back to life. That's how he got Jiren to play. The two things Jiren cared about most in the past few years were bringing his Master Gichin back to life and finding the enemies who had hurt his master and destroyed his entire family. Understood, Jiren nodded nonchalantly. He looked at Goten from the 7th universe. Although this way of fusing made him feel very disgraceful, he never thought that one day he would merge with another self to deal with someone. But for his master to be resurrected, such shame was nothing to him at all. The Hakaishin of other universes also felt the power of Jiren from the 11th universe. They were mortified. Originally, Goten from the 7th universe was too strong for them to handle. Now, there was another powerful mortal from the 11th universe. This simply did not give the other universes any way out. At this time in the 7th universe, Beerus's face was still ugly. But Shin suddenly had an idea. Goten, since the 11th universe's fusion is not against the rules, we can also use the Potara earrings for fusion. If you can combine with Trunks, I believe the fighter you create will definitely not be weaker than the fused fighter from the 11th universe. Shin's words made everyone react instantly. Their eyes quickly turned to Goten. Just now, the aura of the combined warrior from the 11th universe was so strong that they ignored this possibility. Since the 11th universe could create fused warriors with Potara earrings, then the 7th universe could use the same method. As long as Goten and Trunks could combine, the fighter created would definitely not be weaker than the fused fighter from the 11th universe. At that time, the possibility of the 7th universe winning the final prize would increase to 90% or even higher. Shin, you are really smart this time. I just forgot about this method. They let them fuse together. Why can't we? Get your earrings here. Goten, Trunks, you two are the most powerful now. Hurry up and fuse together, Beerus said excitedly, hurrying to Goten and Trunks. Shin immediately took off his Potara earrings and handed them to Goten and Trunks. Looking at the excited faces of the two, Trunks was ready, but Goten shook his head. I don't think it's necessary, Beerus. Goten's refusal left everyone stunned. This might be the only way to defeat the combined fighters of the 11th universe completely. Unexpectedly, Goten refused. First of all, I believe that with my own strength, I can defeat the fused fighter of the 11th universe. Secondly, Trunks and I are not considered the same, and even if we use Potara earrings to fuse, it would not be permanent. Once the strength exceeds what the Potara earrings can withstand, we will separate immediately. Therefore, this combination is unnecessary, Goten explained. You must know that Vegito, the fused fighter of Super Saiyan Blue Goku and Vegeta in the Dragon Ball Super Zamasu chapter, did not reach the level of Hakaishin. Even under that kind of force, the Potara earrings could not bear it and disintegrated. The power Goten possesses now alone has surpassed Vegito in the Super Saiyan Blue form, so this fusion simply wouldn't work. How so? Then why didn't the fusion warrior from the 11th universe separate? Beerus's extremely excited expression wilted instantly. Perhaps that guy is already qualified as the 11th universe Kaioshin or a Kaioshin candidate, so they can fuse together forever, Goten speculated. It turns out that's how it is. Well, Since you don't want to fuse together, forget it. I believe in you. Even without fusion, you will definitely be able to defeat that guy from the 11th universe. Beerus nodded, choosing to believe in Goten. A warrior who could defeat all Hakaishin couldn't lose to a fused mortal from the 11th universe. They had no choice now. They could only choose to believe in Goten. Yes, I will. I don't want the 7th universe to be wiped out more than any of you. Goten nodded firmly. As a mortal in 2 lifetimes, he didn't want to die more than anyone else. At this moment, the Grand Priest's voice sounded, "The tournament is about to start. Hakaishin, Kaioshin, and Angels, please move to the auditorium. Goten, Trunks, Goku, and Vegeta, you guys have to win this." Beerus gave another serious reminder. This is a matter of life and death for the universe. Afterwards, several of them jumped and returned directly to the audience stands. The other Hakaishin, Kaioshin, and Angels also returned to their respective audience stands. Everyone, next I will briefly explain the rules and matters needing attention in this tournament of power, the Grand Priest announced. First of all, the duration of this power tournament is 100 tacks. For those unfamiliar with this concept of time, please look at the huge pillar in the center of the ring. When that pillar is fully submerged in the ring, the match is officially over. The key to victory is to send your opponent out of the ring. Falling to the ground, admitting defeat, and losing consciousness do not mean elimination as long as you remain on the ring. Secondly, during the competition, no hidden weapons, recovery potions, or flying can be used, except for special races with the ability to fly. Finally, it is not allowed to kill the opponent. If someone is killed, the universe of the killer will be erased immediately. Now, I invite Zeno-sama to say a few words. After the Grand Priest's voice fell, his body retreated to Zeno's side. Zeno's voice sounded, "Everyone exert all your strength and bring a wonderful match." His speech was concise and clear. Then everyone, the Tournament of Power has officially started, the Grand Priest announced. Hee! I can finally start the fight. I've been waiting for this day for a long time. It's exciting, isn't it, Vegeta? Goku said excitedly, gearing up. Humph, I will definitely eliminate more than you, Kakarot. Vegeta smiled confidently. Then the two jumped out directly. Father Goku, Trunks frowned, watching the two who had already flown out. These guys were simply out of control. Okay, guys, please unite and form a circle. Stay close to ensure we don't get eliminated. Trunks and Gohan began to organize everyone. Piccolo and Krillin were naturally obedient, and young Trunks stood in the middle since his strength was the weakest. Humph, I've already spotted that foul-mouthed woman from the 6th universe. I don't care about uniting or not. Android 21 laughed and walked towards the 6th universe. Even if she was eliminated today, she wanted to teach that woman a lesson. Yai! I'm going to turn them all into chocolate! Majin Buu rushed directly towards the crowd. Trunks and Gohan looked embarrassed. It seemed that uniting this group was not easy. At this time, Goten walked towards Jiren step by step. This guy was his only real opponent in the tournament. As he walked, a brilliant silver aura began to linger around Goten's body. His black hair and pupils turned silvery white in an instant. In an instant, Goten used the perfect Ultra Instinct state. He knew that against the combined Jiren, he couldn't afford to hold back. What? That bastard? Is that what I think it is? Belmod was dumbfounded seeing Goten surrounded by a silver aura. Yes, dear. That's the perfect Ultra Instinct. I didn't expect that mortal from the 7th universe to master perfect Ultra Instinct. This kind of talent is indeed a very top existence among mortals, Angel Margarita commented. TN. I have IRL issues, so translation takes a back seat for a while. Troubles with thesis work, etc. Didn't get enough will to give some time to the translation. Have been reading other fanfics to blow off some steam, or trying to make sense of my thesis work. I can't promise that the translation updates will have some specific release rate. The only thing I can advise is that you guys can add the novel to the reading list of the library, because I have no idea if I will disappear again. It sometimes happens that when readers don't see the updates, they delete the book from their collection, so leaving it in the reading list tab will be helpful. I have intentions to complete what I started, but the IRL work sometimes takes the motivation out of me and I take long breaks to get back on track.